Hi everybody, welcome to my channel for new battle report. So this is game 1 of WTC. I'm playing against Lord Hasselt. He was part of the Dutch Lions or the Netherlands ETC selection. So I think it's the ETC group, and he was the coach if I remember correctly. And this time he's playing because one of his teammates couldn't attend to the event. So he's playing VC, my list, you know it already, and this was my opponent's list. So he's playing a funny list, I could say. So 3 Courtier on Spectral Steed, and then can join the Wind Reapers and give them basically Stubborn and also Autonomous, which is funny. 2 units of 31 ghouls, then he had 4 Batworm, a bunker of zombies, 2 units of Spectral Hunter mainly as chaff, and that's his list basically. 2 big units of Wind Reaper are the main close combat power of his list, one with Albert, one with paired weapon. Here you have the settings. We played second target on end cycle. I think it was the map A8, you will see on the next picture, and below you have the spell selection of both player. I decided to try to pick Savage Fury to maybe force a frenzy check at some time to force him to charge something, which I felt could be interesting. The 2 damage spell to try to get to hit the Spectral Hunters, and then some magic buff, basically some combat buff to help me a little bit. He decided to go with Ravenswing and Deceptive Glamour on his general. His BSB has the Ward Save spell and Hereditary, and then the Nosferatu has the 2 rerolls and Hereditary. And obviously he has the Dead Arise that to create a new unit. Matchup analysis. So I felt the Spectral Hunter could be a bit annoying for me, would be my prime target for range damage. I could also frenzy bait them, so try to get them out of the way, because they are basically the mobile expendable units that he can use to block something and push somewhere. Second target, I felt he has a limited amount of scoring. If you check his list, he has basically zombies, ghoul, and that's it. Meaning he has to keep one of them on one second target, so possibly one unit could be a bit out of the action. His list could be problematic if he can start and go in front of me. I felt the combination of ghouls that have rank, poison, reroll to hit, high armored character plus hard hitting reapers. I felt everything combined together in face of me, and plus the Spectral Hunter trying to chaff me could be a bit of an issue early on, which is why I would be happy to split a little bit the board and delay a little the engagement to get into better condition. Play first if I can to deny him any aggressive start, establish board control. Starting from a standoff, which is something I wanted to get at the beginning, I should be able to get a small win because mainly of the range damage and the fact that I can charge further. Maybe I can get some points, so I felt the matchup is slightly in my favor. Deployment. So he won the roll for side and gave me the small middle, so he picked the big center and placed his second target in a part of the map where it's kind of hard for me to deploy, because basically if I want to put it as close as possible, I would be somewhere between, basically I would have an impassable in the middle of my line, and as I told you at the beginning, I don't want to face him straight even when starting with an impassable in the middle of the board and him playing second and being able to do so conga line to score and so on. I didn't felt comfortable to get them so close, so I was happy to put it on the other side and establish a strong left side, basically with some element to delay him on his weak flank, and just to tell him, if you put only a unit of zombie on the right flank, I can possibly deal with that and you would be in trouble for the secondary. So force him to get a block of ghoul on this secondary here. So my deployment, I drop for first turn 1 Bruiser unit, Tuskus, the Mercvest looking that way because they can easily reform and move forward as much as possible. Then the dogs, the Death Star, first Mammoth. Here you have the Bruiser unit without Musician, I guess, or with Musician. I think it's the one with Musician looking that way basically. In case he deploys too strong on the right, I can easily march 12, and if he doesn't, I can reform and move forward. The Giant on the far right. His counter deployment, so he decided to make a strong right flank with some elements on his weaker flank to still try to play for this secondary. So he plays his zombie here, the BSB with the Halberd Wind Reaper. The second ghoul unit here, so the first one is here on the far right. Then he plays Spectral Hunters, second Morgas unit with paired weapon, and the 2 remaining characters, so General and the last Courtier, and the Bats in the back. So I'm starting the game, pushing forward early on, trying to get some board control, so I push leave him only with long charges, keep them a bit more to the back, and I start to basically, for me, he's too strong on the right, so I'm starting straight to move back my unit, trying to come around impassable and marching towards the left. In magic phase, get Swarm of Insect off on Spectral Hunters, do nothing, shooting. I made a save, and yeah, I think I got some shots here, but as you can see, played with the heal, so it's kind of hard for me to get some good shots here. And he made also a ward save on the BSB, I guess, and no, I think he made a ward save on one of these models with my Ogre crossbow from the Great Khan, and that was it more or less. His turn 1, he pushes on his strong flank, mainly with the Spectral Hunters. He's not so afraid of the Giant and establish some counter charge in case. Start to push with the Morghast facing my Death Star. And yeah, the ghouls stay a bit more behind, and those guys stay here to look at my Tuskers here on the left. In magic phase, he gets a ward save plus reroll to wound on something, which didn't matter much for me. My turn 2. I continue to retreat on the right flank, so as you can see, the Bruiser unit is here back on the left side of the building, and I continue to establish board control with Death Star, and the Merc Vets moving a bit forward, trying to get some shots on the zombies this time. And here on the left, I'm still playing careful, because if he gets the charge on me, he's likely to break me, so I cannot get the charge from the Wind Reaper on myself. In the magic phase, Swarm of Insect kill this time 3 cavalry, and shooting I kill 6 zombies, just trying to diminish the zombies to force him to heal, or to make just harder for him to push forward at some point. His turn 2, as you can see, it's pretty quick battle in the early stages, because of the standoff, so he moves slightly forward, but leaves me with a long charge. Puts the ghoul to look in the flank if he needs to, and pushes a bit forward, leaving me long charges on his Spectral Hunters and the ghoul behind. And left flank, yeah, he moves a bit back to... I think I have only long charges with stuff, so just moves a bit back. In his magic phase, he failed a ward save and heal one of the Morghast basically on this unit, I guess. Heal some wounds and that's it. My turn 3, I push a bit forward, as you can see. But not too much. I didn't want him to be able to charge me, like I said. And still now, the problem I had is if I attempt the long charge with the Tuskers, I think I had like a 10 or 11. If I fail, he can easily charge me and still be behind the hill, and I don't get the position to punish him with the Merc Vet. So yeah, I didn't find the best solution here with the Tuskers against the Morghast. I was a bit blocked, and I start to move a bit forward with the Bruisers and the rest here. The Giant is back on this part of the wall, so looking forward to see what he attempts to do. In the magic phase, Hand of Heaven did nothing. Shooting, he did some wounds on the Morghast, but I cannot get to them. They move out of the way, so I cannot do much on them. He's turn 3 already. Start to push, and as you can see, he gets pretty close from my Giant, pretty close from my Death Star. So this is going to be very interesting, and his chaff is, his cavalry, fast-moving cavalry is a bit out of the way, so it's going to be interesting. And those guys stayed in their position. In the magic phase, he got the creation of a unit on 2 dice. I attempt to dispel it with 2 dice because I felt he still can use Raven Swing and do stuff, which could be annoying for me. I didn't want to too many dice. I used 2 dice and I roll a 2 and a 1, which is annoying because he gets the creation. So yeah, it's 92% chance to dispel it with 2 dice, which I didn't manage to do it. So now it's annoying because he can chaff my Death Star from charging into this combat, which is, yeah, obviously not what I wanted. And other than that, I dispel Hereditary and no, what did he got? Yeah, he heals some wounds, I think, on the Morghast, and that's it. So his creation, I decided to charge with a dart because I'm in the front. He cannot counter charge me. The dogs move a bit forward. I could also potentially use the Giant to get rid of the chaff. We can debate about that. It's still the same position. I could stomp and so on. I don't want to be too early out of combat, but maybe the Giant would have been nice as well. I don't know. I choose to keep the Giant here to close the flank. And the rest, yeah, I move a bit forward, and now I turn around the Merc Vets to try to shoot at them, making some wounds because I'm looking forward to maybe get a combat at some point. In the magic phase, what did I get? Break the Spirit, Swarm of Insect did 2 wounds on the Morghast, I guess. And then shooting did another 3 wounds. So I did some wounds, close combat. I kill some in crumble a bit, but he's still here. Nothing can charge me, which is nice. He's turn 4. He pushes forward with the Morghast. And I was surprised because, again, I felt so he killed one of my guy with 8 attack from zombies, which is not so likely. So I have only 2 left, but still with 2, I think, as you can see, he has 8 left. So if I kill 4 or 5, depending if he does a wound or nothing, but if I kill 4 or 5, he crumbles, and then I'm free to charge with multiple things. So I felt this could be really interesting. Pushes here the flank with the cav, and here start to move a bit on the flank of my Morgras, leaving me with a very long charge here, like a double 6. In the magic phase, another time he got the creation of on 2 dice against my 2 dice. Which is tired. I was very surprised that he didn't use it to chaff my Death Star. He put it a bit more here in the front to try to create some traffic, but I felt he should have put it in the front of my Death Star, because in case this close combat gets free, I think we will see on the next picture, but I think my Death Star could have been able to charge here, which is the problem. So he put it here to block a little bit my chaff. I dispel Hereditary and close combat. I killed 3, did nothing to me, but it doesn't crumble enough. He still has 2 guys remaining, which is annoying, because now I'm blocked and I cannot charge into the Morghast. My turn 5, I charge into the creation here, move back a bit with the rest because I want to make the charge a bit long, and mainly it's not about the charge, because I think there is no problem for the Death Star to get charged by the Morghast. It's mainly the fact that I didn't want to get chaffed by the Spectral Hunter. So now he's really far away. There is no way he can chaff my Death Star to get into a charge next round if he decides to move forward, which is what I wanted. And here I decided to push the flank, which wasn't so smart, because still the Morghast can move back and try to get rid of me, so wasn't the best of the idea. Those guys move a bit forward, and those guys turn around facing the Morghast, leaving them with a long charge. In the magic phase, I got Brain Spirit off on the Morghast. Swarm of Insect did 1 wound on the cavalry. Shooting, he did some wounds on the Morghast, I think 2 wounds on them, and he saved 1 on the BSB. And that was it. And close combat, I got rid of the 2 created units, which brings me in 0 point. In his turn, he decided to charge my Bruisers, which surprised me a bit, to be honest, because I felt if I can charge him next round, I should be fine. So I was a bit surprised by that. Moves them a bit forward, those guys move around, and then they hide from my Tuskers, and he moved a bit forward with the zombies. In the magic phase, Binding Scroll, Deceptive Glamour, I think so. Yeah, feeling I really want to charge next round. And he heals some wound on the Morghast, I think 3 wounds. And I dispel the fly move on something. And yeah, that was it. And the creation as well. So I think I don't know the fly move, maybe just with 2 dice. He tried a small fly on something. And I dispel obviously the creation, this time with 3 dice, because I didn't want to get chaff. In close combat, I was very scared because he killed everybody except 1 wound. So he managed, with all this Morghast and character attack, he managed only to do 5 wounds on them, meaning I flee, and I needed like a 9 to jump over, and I managed to roll a 12. So some luck here, because if I would have been chaffed by my own unit, that would have been very frustrating for me. My turn 6, I charge, get I think it was 7 or 8 for the Death Star, and the opposite for the Giant. I think 7 on the Giant and 8 on the Death Star, and I get in with everybody, which is nice. And then push the Frosty to get into the Aura to strike first. And I don't know if I had a long charge or not. I would say maybe 11 or 12 here. And I think if it's the case, I should have attempted this charge, because failing it, since I chaff here, doesn't matter. And turning around to shoot them wasn't going to... has low chance of success, basically. And here I try to move back, and here I chaff the ghouls to not get counter charge into something. Which, I don't know, I think it's still not too bad, but I felt I don't want to take any risk here. In the magic phase, I get break this battle focus on my own unit, +1 strength, which is a lot. Shooting, I kill 2, I think so. And here just crumbles. Even before I strike with the Kagadai, we know he's going to crumble, because I got both charges. And after that, I think I overrun with both, but I'm not sure, because you will see the position of the Death Star. If I didn't, I should have, because as you can see, a straight line I could impact here. I think those guys looking here are not too much of a deal for me, and they are chaffed. So I think if I didn't, I should have definitely tried to overrun with the Death Star. And here I just overrun to get past those guys, and that's it. His turn 6. So as you can see, it looks like I reform, and I should definitely have overrun or tried to. because if I can get some 3 points. So I think here that was a mistake for me. His turn. He attempted to charge in, and here I did, I think, a big mistake in this game. I decided not to flee. It's the last turn. I tried to play it fast, but it was a huge mistake because he has like a charge on 10 Swift Ride or 11. And this one was like a middle charge, like 8. And he got the zombie and not those guys. But if he gets both, basically can overrun here into the secondary and we draw this one and he wins this one, which is huge in terms of points. So I should have just fled one charge and give away one unit, and that's it. So huge mistake. But I think the key mistake was to push the bruisers like I did on turn 4. And luckily for me, I'm not punished. So I could say I was unlucky on 2 creation, and I was lucky on this situation and the one with the bruiser fleeing over. So yeah, that's a bit what happened. And yeah, what's going to happen basically is going to kill dogs. Here I'm going to get half points. And that's going to be it basically. Ended up being a 13-7. I didn't rally the bruiser guy fleeing. Took the dogs and half of the mage. I don't remember how. I would say put some attack in close combat or maybe a miscast. I got the general, the second vampire, the reapers, and half the zombies. Yeah, what can I say? So safe deployment. I should have potentially switched the Death Star and the Merc Vets to be able to push more with the Death Star. I feel I could have threatened the hill a bit more. But even with the Merc Vets, I felt I could have potentially pushed more. The problem I had was also the positioning of the ghouls. I felt if I push too much, maybe the ghoul can push me. So I don't know. I felt I could have done something more being with the Merc Vets or with the Death Star to trying to punish those Morgas for their position on the weak flank. 2 creation would stop me from charging. I could have potentially, I don't know about turn 3, his magic phase. When I said creation dispel on 2 dice because of, I didn't know. He could use the fly move then to move back or to move away or in the flank, or I don't know. But he could have done something with the fly move, but I think it was a key time and I could have potentially say, let's just put 3 dice, dispel that no matter what, and get a charge turn 4. Unnecessary late risk on the secondary, I talked about it. I think it was a big mistake. I wasn't punished for it. It has low likelihood of getting the 2 charges in, but it's still a risk I shouldn't have taken. 2 magic missiles were not enough to deal with the Spectral Hunter. Yeah, he hid them a bit and they were not exposed too much. But I felt in the list it wasn't enough to really get rid of them. And I felt my opponent underestimated a bit the Death Star against the Reapers. He could have pushed less or retreat and just say, let's make it a 10-10. So yeah, multiple times he moved forward and relies on the creation to block me to not charge, and I felt he underestimated what could happen in this combat and how risky it was to move forward, because I could just then dispel the creation, and if I got that and get the charge, we saw what happened. I mean, even with the Kagadai not striking, it was already too much, and I feel it's even worse if the Kagadai then gets to strike in the middle of the unit. So definitely some combat that he could have potentially avoided and maybe get the ghoul a bit closer, but I don't know. That's some ideas about the matchup. Definitely cost him some big points to get into this combat. Yeah, about deployment, just what I was going to say. So I felt if he has the Morgas here, at some point he has to retreat and move towards his stronger flank, because the Death Star moving forward, I mean, at some point I can try to block him and get into charges and get into something. Here, basically, I didn't move the Merc enough forward because a little bit of the Ghoul as well. But I felt I could have potentially pushed a bit more at some point to try to free the Tuskers. The Tuskers were a bit blocked by all this position, which was a bit annoying. So I don't know about my deployment. I felt it was not the perfect setup to maximize my chances. I felt it was still right to deploy strong flank, weak flank. It's just about the alignment of the unit, and then also I think in my game plan we could talk about the Merc Vets being able to push more, especially when the Frosty is in nearby. I took some time to bring back the Frost, but as soon as he's back, I think they can push more and just try to get some charges at some point against those Morgas. What happened in the round? So we ended up winning 90, as you can see below. We had some small wins, some bigger wins, some very small draw, small defeat like 9. And one big defeat, 119, which hurts a bit when you add up all the numbers, but still enough for us to win it 90-70. Thanks also to the Dutch Lions. It's always a pleasure to face them. They are a great opponent. Very interesting to face their list. They always have some creative list. So it was cool to face them, and a good moment on table 1. So yeah, solid win for us that allow us to stay in the smaller rooms, because one particularity of WTC is that you have a small room for table 1, then you have a mid-sized room for row 2 and 3, and then from the row 4 to row 10 it's a big room. So definitely one of the objective of the weekend is to stay in the smaller room all weekend, because it's much more enjoyable gaming experience, it's less noisy, and it's so much better. Guys, that's all for this battle report. Talk to you soon on the channel for game number 2. Bye bye.